In a world obsessed with accumulation, where success is measured by what we possess rather than who we become, we have forgotten the most liberating truth. The world needs us more than we need it. Tonight, let us journey through the mystical wisdom of Ibn Arabi to discover why empty hands often cradle the fullest hearts. Dear seekers of truth, tonight, I stand before you not as a teacher, but as a fellow traveler on the path of divine bewilderment. I come bearing a question that the great mystic Ibn Arabi would pose: who is truly poor, the one with empty hands, or the world that endlessly begs for our attention, our energy, our very souls? Look around you. The world screams from every corner. Buy me, achieve me, possess me, define yourself through me. Like an insatiable beggar, it extends its hand constantly, demanding more, always more. As the philosopher Schopenhauer wisely observed, wealth is like seawater. The more we drink, the thirstier we become. But Ibn Arabi understood what many have forgotten. The world is the supplicant, not us. In his profound work Fusus al-Hikam, Ibn Arabi revealed that all of creation is in perpetual need of the divine, constantly seeking, constantly wanting. The mountains need the rain, the ocean needs the moon, the flower needs the sun, and the material world, it needs you, your desire, your attachment, your validation to give it meaning. There is a mystical secret hidden in poverty, not the poverty of circumstance, but the poverty of spirit that Ibn Arabi called Faqr. It is the conscious emptying of oneself, the willingness to stand before existence with open, empty hands. Henry David Thoreau, that American sage who lived deliberately by Walden Pond, understood this when he wrote, "A man is rich in proportion to the number of things he can afford to let alone. When your hands are empty, they cannot be chained. When your heart desires nothing from the world has no power over you." This is not deprivation, this is liberation. Ibn Arabi taught us about Wadat al-Wujud, the unity of being. In this cosmic dance, everything is interconnected, everything reflects the divine. But here lies the beautiful paradox. Only when we empty ourselves of worldly attachments can we be filled with divine presence. Think of a cup. A cup full of muddy water cannot receive the clear spring water from above. It must first be emptied. Similarly, hearts cluttered with material desires, social anxieties, and worldly ambitions cannot receive the divine light. As the Persian poet Rumi, Ibn Arabi's spiritual contemporary, said through European translation, try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you, and do not worry that your life is turning upside down. How do you know that the side you are used to is better than the one to come? The German philosopher Meister Eckhart, a Christian mystic who walked a parallel path to Ibn Arabi, proclaimed, God is not found in the soul by adding anything, but by a process of subtraction. Empty hands, full hearts. This is the equation the world cannot understand. Who really needs whom? My friends, let me share with you Ibn Arabi's radical insight. The world is dependent on consciousness, not the other way around. Without the human heart to perceive it, to give it meaning, to reflect upon it, what is the world but a theater without an audience? The French philosopher Blaise Pascal captured this when he wrote, all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. We run to the world because we fear the emptiness within. But Ibn Arabi invites us to embrace that emptiness, to discover that what we thought was void is actually fullness itself. The world needs you to chase its illusions so it can feel powerful, desire its possessions so it can feel valuable, fear its loss so it can control. You measure yourself by its standards so it can define you. You need none of these things. Ibn Arabi walked through the markets of Damascus, through the courts of kings, through the deserts of Arabia, and everywhere he looked, he saw people enslaved by their possessions, imprisoned by their achievements, suffocated by their identities. He taught that the true insan, al-kamil, the perfected human being, is one who has transcended need, not through acquiring everything, but through needing nothing. As the Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard wrote, the function of prayer is not to influence God, but rather to change the nature of the one who prays. Ibn Arabi would add, the function of poverty is not to make us miserable, but to liberate us from the tyranny of wanting. the invitation taunt. I invite you to conduct an experiment. For 1 day, 1 hour, even 1 moment, stand with empty hands before the universe. Release your grip on control. Let go of the need to possess, to prove, to protect. Notice what happens. The world, that eternal beggar, will knock at your door with its 1,000 demands. And you, with your empty hands and full heart, can simply smile and say, I have nothing for you, dear world, because I am everything already. Ralph Waldo Emerson, the American transcendentalist, understood this truth. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Conclusion. The ultimate reversal. Dear friends, Ibn Arabi's message is clear and revolutionary. You are not the beggar at the world's door. The world is the beggar at yours. Your attention is precious. Your peace is priceless. Your inner stillness is the treasure kingdoms cannot buy. The world knows this. That's why it begs so loudly, so constantly, so desperately for you to forget. But tonight, remember that the emptiest hands can hold the greatest gifts. Remember that the fullest hearts need the least from outside. Remember that in the grand cosmic dance, you are not the one asking, you are the answer itself. As Ibn Arabi himself wrote in his mystical poetry, my heart has become capable of every form. It is a pasture for gazelles and a convent for Christian monks, and a temple for idols and the pilgrim's Kaaba, and the tables of the Toda and the book of the Quran. I follow the religion of love, whatever way love's camels take. That is my religion and my faith. May you walk with empty hands and full hearts. May you see through the world's begging, and may you discover the supreme freedom that comes from needing nothing and being everything. We have been conditioned since birth to believe a fundamental lie, that we are the needy ones, standing at the doorstep of the world with outstretched hands, hoping it will grant us happiness, success, validation, and purpose. Every advertisement, every social expectation, every cultural narrative reinforces this delusion. The world presents itself as the benevolent provider, the source of all fulfillment, and we are cast as the perpetual seekers, forever incomplete without its offerings. But Ibn Arabi, with the piercing insight of a true mystic, reveals the exact opposite truth that transforms everything we thought we knew about our relationship with existence. The material world is in a state of constant, desperate supplication. Every moment of every day, it knocks at the door of your consciousness with 1,000 urgent demands. It begs for your attention through the endless notifications on your phone, each ping a small plea saying, look at me, validate my existence. It begs for your emotional investment through carefully crafted narratives in media, through news cycles designed to keep you anxious and engaged, through social platforms that monetize your presence. The marketplace begs for your desire, creating artificial needs you never knew you had, convincing you that fulfillment is always one more purchase away. Your career begs for your identity, asking you to define yourself through titles and achievements, to measure your worth by its metrics of success. Consider this carefully, without your perception, without your consciousness to observe it. What is the world? A tree falling in a forest, with no one to hear it makes no sound, not because of physics, but because sound requires consciousness to exist as an experience. The world needs you to perceive it, to think about it, to care about it, to give it significance. Your attention is the light that illuminates reality. Without that light, the world remains in darkness, potential but not actual, form but not meaning. Every empire that ever rose needed people to believe in its power. Every currency that holds value does so only because consciousness agrees to its worth. Every social status, every achievement, every material possession derives its significance entirely from the human mind that acknowledges it. This is why the world begs so loudly, so relentlessly, so creatively. It knows a secret that most people have forgotten. Consciousness is the source, not the recipient. You are not a beggar at the feast of the world. You are the host, and the world is the hungry guest that cannot eat without your invitation. When Ibn Arabi spoke of the unity of being, he understood that existence itself is a constant request from the divine for consciousness to witness, to know, to love. The world, as a manifestation of this divine creativity, inherits this quality of needing to be known, needing to be witnessed, needing to be given meaning through the human heart and mind. Every fear you have about not having enough, not being enough, not achieving enough is the world's voice speaking through you, trying to maintain its power over your consciousness. The moment you recognize that you are the one being asked, not the one asking, everything shifts. You stop running toward the world and start standing still in your own completeness. You recognize that your peace, your attention, your inner stillness are not things you need to earn from the world, but gifts that the world desperately wants you to forget you already possess. There exists a profound paradox at the heart of spiritual wisdom that our material culture has systematically trained us to misunderstand. The path to true abundance runs directly through the territory of emptiness. We live in a civilization built on the premise of addition, accumulation, and acquisition. More education leads to more opportunities. More money leads to more security. More possessions lead to more happiness. More followers lead to more validation. The entire structure of modern life is predicated on filling ourselves up, stuffing our lives with experiences, credentials, relationships, and things until we feel complete. Yet despite this endless accumulation, an epidemic of emptiness haunts our society. Depression rates climb. Anxiety becomes the defining condition of our age. People surrounded by abundance feel fundamentally poor. This is because we have forgotten the ancient wisdom that Ibn Arabi understood with perfect clarity. Fullness cannot enter where there is no space to receive it. Imagine a cup already filled to the brim with muddy, stagnant water. No matter how pure the spring water flowing from above, it cannot enter. The cup must first be emptied, poured out, cleansed of what it holds before it can receive the fresh, life-giving water. This is not merely a metaphor, but a fundamental principle of spiritual transformation. Your heart is that cup. Every attachment to material outcomes, every anxious grasping for security, every need for external validation, every story you tell yourself about who you must become to be worthy, every fear of not having enough or being enough fills that cup with murky water. These are not neutral additions to your life. They are active blockages preventing the reception of something infinitely more valuable. Ibn Arabi called this sacred emptying Faqr, often translated as spiritual poverty, but the word carries meanings that poverty in English cannot capture. Faqr is not deprivation, but conscious divestment. It is not losing things, but releasing your grip on them. It is not about having nothing, but about needing nothing, which creates the most profound form of having everything. When the Sufi mystics spoke of Faqr, they described a state of such complete inner freedom that the whole universe could pass through you without leaving a trace of ownership, without creating the burden of attachment. This is why Ibn Arabi could walk through palaces and deserts with equal serenity, why he could receive honor and rejection with the same peaceful heart. The Western contemplative tradition understood this truth as well. Meister Eckhart, the German mystic who lived a century after Ibn Arabi, proclaimed that God is found not through addition, but through subtraction. The Buddhists speak of sunyata, the liberating emptiness that is simultaneously fullness itself. Even in the Christian tradition, Jesus spoke of the camel and the needle's eye, recognizing that the wealthy person is not burdened by what they own, but by what owns them. Across every genuine spiritual tradition, this same insight emerges. You must become empty to become full. You must lose your life to find it. You must die to be reborn. Consider what happens when you release just one attachment, one anxiety, one compulsive need. Space opens, breath deepens, the tight fist of control loosens. In that opening, something new becomes possible, not because you acquired it, but because you finally created room for it to exist. This is the gateway that most people never find because they are too busy filling themselves with what the world sells as fulfillment in the medieval markets where Ibn Arabi walked. Merchants traded in gold, silk, spices, and precious stones. Each commodity had its value, its weight, its price. But in our contemporary world, a new economy has emerged that would have been incomprehensible to those ancient traders, yet would have been perfectly understood by Ibn Arabi the mystic, the attention economy. while we still exchange dollars and euros, while stock markets rise and fall. The real currency that powers our civilization is something far more intimate and irreplaceable. Your attention, that focused beam of consciousness that illuminates whatever it touches, has become the most sought-after resource on the planet. Billion-dollar corporations engineer their entire existence around capturing and holding it. Algorithms compete ruthlessly for microseconds of your gaze. Social platforms measure their success not in the quality of connection they facilitate, but in the quantity of time they extract from your day. This is not accidental or coincidental. The architects of our digital age understand something profound that most users do not. Attention is not merely valuable, it is the source of all other values. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. Where your energy flows, your life grows. Every moment you spend scrolling through manufactured outrage is a moment not spent in deep conversation with someone you love. Every hour absorbed in comparing your life to carefully curated highlights of others' lives is an hour not spent creating something meaningful. Every day fragmented into 1,000 micro-distractions is a day stolen from the possibility of sustained focus, deep work, genuine presence. The world knows this. That is precisely why it begs so loudly, so constantly, so desperately for your attention. Your attention is the light that brings things into existence, the consciousness that transforms potential into actual, the awareness that gives meaning to meaningless events. Ibn Arabi taught that the human being is a khalifa, a representative or steward of divine consciousness on earth. This is not merely a theological concept, but a practical reality. You are the one who decides what receives the gift of your awareness. You are the curator of your own consciousness. When you give your attention to fear, fear grows. When you give your attention to gratitude, gratitude expands. When you give your attention to the endless noise of the world, you become noise. When you give your attention to stillness, you discover depths within yourself that no external achievement could ever touch. This is why the mystics across traditions have always emphasized practices of focused attention, meditation, prayer, contemplation, mindful work. These are not religious duties, but training exercises in sovereignty, ways of reclaiming your attention from the thousand thieves that want to steal it. Consider the brutal arithmetic of modern life. If you sleep 8 hours, you have 16 waking hours each day. If even half of those hours are spent in reactive mode, responding to notifications, scrolling through feeds, consuming content designed to trigger emotional responses, then you have surrendered 8 hours of your irreplaceable life to forces that do not care about your well-being, your growth, or your peace. Multiply that by days, weeks, years, and you see the magnitude of what is at stake. Your attention is not renewable. Once this moment passes, you never get it back. The world will always have another crisis to worry about, another product to desire, another comparison to torture yourself with. But you only have one life, and that life is composed entirely of moments of attention strung together like pearls on a string. The greatest prison ever constructed has no walls, no bars, no guards standing watch. It is built entirely from need. From the thousand subtle and not so subtle ways, we have come to believe that our completeness lies somewhere outside ourselves, in something we must acquire, achieve, or become. From our earliest moments, society begins the construction of this invisible prison. You need good grades to be worthy. You need the right college to have opportunities. You need the prestigious job to prove your value. You need the perfect partner to be complete. You need the beautiful home to feel secure. You need the enviable lifestyle to be happy. You need others' approval to know you matter. Each need is another bar in the cage. And by the time we reach adulthood, most people are so imprisoned by their needs that they have forgotten what freedom even feels like. They spend their entire lives in service to these needs, working jobs they tolerate to buy things they do not truly want to impress people they do not genuinely like, all while calling this bondage normal life. Ibn Arabi's vision of the insan al-kamil, the perfected or complete human being, stands in radical opposition to this prison of perpetual need. The insan al-kamil is not someone who has acquired everything the world offers, but someone who has transcended the very mechanism of needing. This is not achieved through ascetic deprivation, through forcing yourself to want nothing, through gritting your teeth and denying your humanity. That would merely be another form of bondage, another prison with different bars. True freedom comes from a profound recognition, a shift in consciousness so complete that it transforms your entire relationship with existence. It is the recognition that you already are what you have been seeking, that the peace you are chasing is your natural state, that the wholeness you are trying to construct is your original condition, that the freedom you are working toward is actually being prevented by the very work you are doing to achieve it. Consider the person who believes they need wealth to be free. Every day they labor, sacrifice, compromise, stress, calculating how much more they need before they can finally relax into life. The irony is devastating. In pursuit of the freedom that wealth might bring, they surrender the only freedom that actually exists, the freedom of this present moment. They have made their peace conditional on circumstances, which means they have given away their sovereignty to forces beyond their control.